So this is just a funny aside, and it's very short, but I learned the word ejaculate absent of any sexual or reproductive context because they used to use it to mean like you shouted suddenly in like older books. And in 4th grade, I read a book called The 5 Little Peppers and How They Grew. I've probably told this story before. It scarred me for life. And one of the things was just they would say, it's like so-and-so ejaculated was the thing they'd say. And like, I remember our teacher doing a thing. It's like, what's words you can use instead of said? And all us kids who were reading that book were like, ejaculate.
Ejaculated.
And she was like, sometimes.
Sure, but
like,
yeah.
she like paused and was like, can I write this on the board? She's like, we won't write that down, but yeah. Like,
we're going to move in a different direction. All right.
In 1996, Scholastic began publishing Animorphs. Over the next 6 years, Catherine Applegate and her husband, Michael Grant, under the pseudonym K.A. Applegate, produced 54 main series books, several spin-offs, and inspired a TV series, graphic novels, and a cult following. We can't tell you where we live. We can't even tell you our last names. But we can tell you our thoughts and feelings on this series, book by book. I'm Miranda.
I'm Eddie.
And I'm Chris.
And we are the Andorks.
These may be kids' books, but we discuss dark themes and mature content. There may also be some explicit language. Listener discretion is advised.
Okay. All right. So, kicking off. Excuse me. Let me prepare. All right. So last time we left off, we had just freed a bunch of Lyrants, made a Lyran alliance, and now we're heading to the City of Worms.
All right. Let's do it.
Chapter 23. The Animorphs arrive in Lyran Morph to a Lyran city, the City of Worms. It's a vertical city in the shape of a cone, 1,000 of your human feet wide at its base and a few dozen at the top, with the very peak touching the water's surface. Holes serving as doors and windows are visible all across the structure. The city is primarily pink, but there are some touches of blue, green, and purples all throughout. Very mermaid, I love it. Good aesthetic. The Lyrants don't bother addressing the Animorphs as they arrive. Because of their psychic abilities, they already know who the Animorphs are and why they're here. An image appears in the minds of the kids, revealing a specific door they should enter, and the kids go there. Inside, they find 24 Andalites. Prince Galway approaches the Animorphs and orders them to demorph. He already knows the truth of what happened to Elfangor and how Axe came to join this band of morph-capable humans. He's disappointed in Elfangor, he says, but none of that matters right now. He needs Axe. Axe is astonished that someone so important as Prince Galway could need him. But he redirects Galway's attention to Jake. After all, Jake is Axe's prince. Every warrior must have a prince to follow, and the princes must obey the people, Axe says. Axe describes Galway as seeming like he might use his old tail on Axe. But ultimately he puts his feelings aside, asking if Jake will help save this planet from the Yeerks. Will it save the Lyrans, Jake asks? Will it keep them free? And most of all, will it hurt the Yeerks? Galway confirms, it will! In private thought speak, Galway addresses Axe. I have known worse princes than this one. But see, this is going back to what I said. This is going back to what I said way back when we met Samelin. And I was like, the Andalite who expressed that sometimes rules could be broken was the bad Andalite. This time we meet an Andalite who's like, I knew Elfangor, very disappointed in what he did. And he turns out to be the good Andalite. Andalites, they value structure above all else. And to their detriment, they will go to the ends of the earth for their fucking structure. And I honestly think Samelin might have been right. He was just going about it the wrong way. It's like, you know what I mean? He's like,
you think
I'm willing, like Galway's willing to bend his whole...
Wake up, sheeple, and get a Yeerk in your ear.
Galway is willing to like bend his whole understanding of whether or not humans matter as soon as Jake is thrust into the structure, into the system that he believes in. It's like when Jake is introduced as a prince and he accepts him as that, he's like, oh, okay, we can work with humans, that's fine. As soon as they're in our system, it's fine. In fact, he's better than some princes I've known before. So, like, what's their fucking major malfunction about breaking the rules sometimes? They clearly do it in private.
Have you eaten recently?
No.
I don't have a response to you yet. But something that I did really like in this chapter was the description of the city while I formulate a response to you.
That's true.
I loved that, like, she took the opportunity to have this big underwater city and she describes it as, like, I forget what she says, like a big upside down ice cone.
Dairy Queen.
Dairy Queen
or
cone.
something.
Dairy Queen specifically, yeah.
And, like,
wait, did
how
Axe say
it's like
that?
a
No,
three-dimensional
someone else said it.
No,
city.
Cassie said it. Cassie said
And
it.
how it's like a three-dimensional city hanging down because they can swim up and down and all around.
Yeah, her mentioning that humans, while existing in 3 dimensions, primarily operate in 2 is something that, like, I enjoyed that. It tickled me because
very,
it's a thing
very
that
cute.
it feels video gamey. Like, you know what I mean?
And the cone was being swirled about by these, like, special, I forget if they were bioluminescent, but these, like, blue aesthetic worms that were swirling in a big halo around the
Which
city.
is why it's called the City of Worms.
City of
Worms.
The best city name we've had yet, easily.
Yeah, because we haven't really gotten a city name for where the kids are from.
Yeah.
No. But you know what? My money's on it not being the City of Worms, the City of Dolphins, whatever. It's going to be something more boring, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what Miranda said, and all I can say is that Jake is a hell of a prince. He's
That's true.
is.
And I'm sorry, I got
He's
a
our
little
prince.
heated.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Miranda, I have
that's why we're here.
a Mass Effect kind of thought. I'm just using Mass Effect as an example. But you know how in the original trilogy, we had the Asari, and kind of every alien, they were pretty much 2 character type. Like, the races were kind of like, the Asari are like this, and the...
There's, like, archetypes for them.
Yes. But then in
Krogans
Andromeda...
and the
Yeah. Andromeda, I remember. I didn't finish Andromeda, but I remember that they were like, oh, we're going to meet an Asari, but she's a little bit different than the Asari that we knew before.
Oh.
She's, like, goofy. Did you play Andromeda?
I did not play Andromeda.
Okay. So she's goofy and she's not really to that Asari type. And so I want the Animorphs to introduce...
Wait, are you saying that she's a sorry, not sorry?
Yeah, Asari,
Is that
not
what
sorry.
you're literally, like, a breath away from saying?
What are you do you have an episode title generator over there, Chris? Like, do you have to steal every... So what I'm trying to say is that she's sort of a sorry, not sorry. Now it's mine. Miranda's going to help me.
I was like, I really thought you were
Chris.
taking this really long walk to make that joke.
No, because I don't set up jokes,
No,
apparently.
some of us are just having a conversation.
Yeah, you piece of shit. What I'm trying to say is something way less interesting.
Chris is a piece of shit. Yeah, exactly.
Just that I want to see the Andalite, who's like a rogue, the little bandit, the little...
Yeah.
I want to see the Andalite that's against type.
But not a traitor, not in anything. I want to see an Andalite that ran off to join the Skritna. You know what I mean? Just wanted to...
I really wanted you to say circus.
Yeah, I think the Skritna is the Andalite circus.
No, they would have so much trouble jumping through the hoops, Chris. You'd have to make the hoop really big. They're not really nimbly shaped, actually.
It's true. We're going to have to make a bigger hoop.
They've said that Andalites have art, and I get that they're in a wartime mentality right now, but I'm really struggling to see these guys, like, at home enjoying...
Dude, it's all Sousa marches.
Or,
it's
like very Soviet.
Military march music. Yeah, exactly.
Like propagandistic, But you would think, I mean, what is it called? What is Cassie heard?
Estreen. The Estreens, yes, the beautiful morphing.
Kind of, it sounds...
Estreen literally translates to the beautiful morphing. From the Latin.
From the Latin.
Yeah. But it sounds like it might be a little bit sensual. There's got to be like a sexy Andalite
I didn't get that vibe.
No? I
didn't get that vibe.
Wow.
Although, no, and I love this. I'm like, I want to go, we're going to go to a cabaret.
I've seen
we're going to go to an Andalite cabaret.
Chronicles cover, okay? I know.
We need to see,
Yeah.
This feels a little bit like the scene in Mass Effect 1 or 2 where they're standing around, they go to a bachelor party and everybody explains how the Asari looks like their race, not somebody else's race, because every race, every species finds the Asari hot.
Yeah.
And one of them's like, "What are you kidding? What? She looks just like a Turian. Look at her head things."
Yes,
And they're like, "Oh, look at her face. She's a human. She's got boobs." Like,
Yeah. Weird.
All right. Chapter 24?
Chapter 24?
Chris, I see a comment here. I don't know if you got to it. We got CD.
Well, you get to read those comments if you join the Patreon.
Okay.
So, I mean, we're over time. What's my comment?
I think it's tails cock.
You just want me to talk about their throbbing tails?
Yeah.
I think we can leave that as, no, I'm just kidding.
And this
That's all it
illustration
says.
that you drew of a cock's tail. Like.
Illustration. All right, I'm gonna delete that before you release these. But yeah, no. There at some point it literally said like we
His
were in a
tail was-
standoff, tails cocked.
Tails cocked, yeah, like a
I was
weapon.
like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Like there's so much language that is just like in a couple chapters ago they were talking about like getting in the golden water or something like
yeah.
that, and it's like it's chapter 24.
Chapter 24?
All right, Eddie, it's you.
Prince Galwee reveals everything! Silly Animorphs, the Andalites aren't defeated at all. Just as Axe suspected, they've tricked the Yeerks into seizing territory that they've already rigged with quantum bombs! The Lyrans don't need the continent, Galwee explains, meaning the Andalites are free to nuke that worthless hunk of land off the planet. Surely that won't have any adverse effects on the planet's ecosystem. But there's one little problem. The main switch of the bomb was never armed. Turns out that Captain Samlin and his troops aboard the Ascalon were key to that part of the plan. And now the main switch is well behind enemy lines. Galwee will need the Animorphs to infiltrate the Yeerk territory in order to arm the bombs themselves. Wait, Marco says. Why do you need the Animorphs to do this? Well, Galwee begins to explain. All Andalite warriors have morph capability, but few acquire morphs or use them. That's more for those Andalites working in intelligence. He explains that the 4 Animorphs have a much more impressive array of morphs than any of the Andalites here on Lyra.
Hell yeah, brother.
But wait, there are only 3 Animorphs present now, not 4. Where did Marco go? The Animorphs keep disappearing one by one. Galwee calls in one of his science officers to investigate. I think these humans in this Eris are still caught in a residual flux field, the science officer says. It is pulling them back towards zero space. It may even be snapping them all the way back to Earth. But my best guess is that what's happening is a sort of elastic effect. They were stretched through zero space and back into normal space, but a small amount of their mass is still back on Earth. It may be acting like an anchor. The effect appears to be accelerating. You will go, one by one, faster and faster now. Like your friends, you will each disappear. Jake tells Galwee that they'll do the mission of arming the bomb. It's not like they have anything to lose. Which is not true, because if they die, they will not go back, right?
They don't know if they're going back, though. They might just be dying in that moment. So he's like, yeah, I don't fucking know.
And they deal with that little information pretty well. They don't really react.
Well, this is a better outcome than they've been given by their own imaginations.
Yeah,
like he's
for
like,
sure.
hey, you might be going home, buddy.
And that's true.
Like,
yeah.
you know? Yeah, it's like
I will say, Galwee interrogates Axe for almost an hour about Samalin's mental state when he reveals he was a traitor. And I'm like, that's wild. He knew him for 20 fucking minutes. And they're like, how did he seem? Did he seem sweaty? What did he do?
He loved Elfangor.
No, yeah. I mean, it makes sense because I think they were probably trying to establish whether Axe was on the up and up or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And also try to look for signs,
really make sense.
if there was any sign that he that they should be looking for in other Andalites to indicate, did he have strange mannerisms? Did he seem like he was shifty, or was he doing a really good job of betraying us? Because that's disconcerting.
Yeah, the other thing that really hits so nice and hard in this chapter is, oops, we just forgot to turn the bomb on.
Oops, silly eyes. We didn't arm it. We could turn it. We could flip a switch right here and now and turn it on if we just armed the damn thing. But the thing is, it's hard to get to.
Pencils have erasers.
Yeah. It's hard to get to, and all we can tell you is it's here.
We had the most brilliant plan, but we just forgot to do it.
Yeah. Darn.
Well, okay.
We were worried that any psychic Lyran Yurks might find out where it was.
It does make sense that Samelin put himself, that he wants to screw up the Andalite plan, and it would work out really well for that if he, who was supposed to arm the bombs,
Oh, okay,
was
that's
not there
possible.
to do
Maybe,
it,
yeah.
right? Because he says, I think
true.
he says that the whole reason this didn't happen was because the Askelin.
No, that's a really good point. That's a really good point. I remember reading that and having an answer, but I am just like, Jesus Christ,
no,
can
I
somebody
completely
do their
agree.
fucking job?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, he was supposed to be going to... That's what they were doing. They were going to land and arm the bomb. That is what... Yeah,
That's-
you're
yeah.
right.
So that means
Well,
that they were headed for
Samelin.
the Bright Hole, right?
I guess so. Yeah, that's what we'll
haven't
talk
even-
about soon. I have
Yeah,
one more
like-
thing I'll hit in this chapter is that Axe mentions that it's much scarier to sit there and not know when they're going to be rubber banded than it is to go into a battle they know they'll probably lose. And I just think that's an interesting thing. It's like the inevitable specter of death
Yeah.
is somehow scarier than doing something you know might kill you. I just think that's an interesting point.
I also, it's worth, earlier in the book, we had like a little moment of struggle. I didn't put this in my notes, but we had a little moment of tension between Rachel where she was like, I asked Jake for orders,
Yes,
not
she
you,
does do
Axe.
that, yeah.
So we get another version of that with like Axe now deferring to Jake in this moment in front of Gaui. And we just didn't hit that very hard in our discussion, but it was like a monumental
Yes.
moment where it's
Because
like...
he has a moment right after they get off the Askelin before everything goes to shit that he's like, Jake, you are my prince until you release me, not otherwise. And this is him following through on that and being like, meeting
even
an
though
Andalite.
Gaui
Yeah.
is like the most important guy.
The highest up
he's
that he's met in
ever
person.
met.
And he's like,
well, gotta answer my guy.
that's great, but you got to tell my prince. And my prince should listen to you, but princes serve the people. Not you. So he'll only do it if he thinks it's right, and I'll only do it if he tells me to. Like, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
It is good stuff. It was a good moment. It was cool to watch him like hold on to his consistency there.
Yeah.
There was another thing I wanted to say, but I forget what it
Wait,
is.
should we talk
So-
about the answer that we get about Animorphs having more morphs than the Andalites?
Oh, yeah. It is weird that they're like, yeah, we could go around searching for powerful morphs, but we don't do that. It's like,
It just doesn't make
it's
any
a bit
sense.
strange.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense. I'm like
They should give
I'm
them at
kind of
least
livid
one.
about it.
Yeah, we've seen what Visser 3 is putting out, and we know that this could be useful. Even if you just have one morph tank in your party, like, you should have a morph tank.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, remember when
it is bizarre.
Visser 3 had that morph that was like, target practice. I think that was the first
Yeah.
book. You could have a whole army of target practice boys. Like,
exactly. But you wouldn't even need that many of them. You'd
No.
really just need the one.
Yeah.
Like-
yeah. One other thought. How do we think we're supposed to feel about the Andalites just quantum bombing this continent?
That's what it was. That was the thing I was supposed to remember. It was the quantum bomb. What the hell, guys? Like, I love that these books are like our big exaggerator for the concept you're aware of.
Yeah.
Is to put quantum in front of it. I love it. It's just everything's a quantum virus.
Quantum
a
virus.
Quantum hack,
You're right.
quantum song.
Yes, because I was thinking that what the Andalites did with the whole Hork-Bajir conflict was that they quantum bombed, but they used a quantum bomb.
No, they used a quantum virus
No,
that
yeah.
slowly deleted their DNA bit by bit, and they
Yeah.
were shredded.
Bomb is much gentler. Yeah.
It's at least faster.
Yeah. I think the Lyrans must feel something about the idea of their continent getting obliterated. Right? Like,
Oh, I mean, yeah, but if they might see it as a tactical loss, like a strategic gain with a loss involved. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They might be like, yeah, this is probably the best plan.
yeah.
Get them to land all their
Yeah.
forces and then ruin
There's
them.
no way it won't have adverse effects, but we're at war. We don't care about those.
Yeah,
We're moving
basically,
on.
it's
Yeah.
like we'll deal with the consequences when we have to. we have to survive to get to the consequences.
They move their egg laying underwater because they're like, oh God, there's a big war going on the moment the Andalites
apparently
show up.
they already
They're gonna
did that.
fuck up
They've
the
just-
continent.
Yeah, they did that. I think that's unrelated.
No,
but I
I'm
do
just
like that
kidding.
They've
thought.
developed
Yeah.
Sandy Cheeks' dome under there so that they can have land.
I'm sorry. What did you just say in front of me?
Sandy Cheeks.
What did you? No, I'm
The
just
character
being
from
silly.
SpongeBob?
It just sounded really weird. With
Sandy
That's fair.
Cheeks'
Apparently-
cone.
I remember.
Dome. Her dome.
No, but now she has a cone.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Okay, Eddie's on a different level, and we need to
Chris,
get.
can you please take us to the bright hole?
Yes.
I would like
To
to
the
talk
bright
about
hole.
the bright hole. All right, chapter 25. The Animorphs are briefed on the mission of arming the quantum bombs. The central arming unit they learn is hidden in the Lyran Bright Hole, a large underground bubble within a rock that is lit by phosphorescent minerals and bioorganisms. There are 2 ways to reach this particular bright hole: by digging downward to reach it through several feet of rock, or by traveling up through an underwater cave. To reach the cave, the Animorphs will have to pass by Lyran controllers, and even once inside the cave, they will need to travel through complete darkness, guarded by snakes. Oh, this darkness is guarded by snakes that use echolocation to strike at anything that moves. The cave, the Animorphs exclaims. Definitely the cave.
For sure.
Yeah. The Animorphs morph into hammerhead sharks and immediately come face to face with those Lyrans they've been talking about. The Lyrans psychically learn within an instant exactly what the Animorphs are up to and flee to the riverbanks in order to alert the Yeerk forces. Axe manages to bite off the head of one of the Lyrans, freeing the creatures from the Yeerks, but not before the Lyran is able to reveal that the continent is rigged to explode, as well as the existence of a central arming switch located within a bright hole. Jake asks Axe how long they have until the Yeerks find the bright hole. Axe replies that they'll only need about 5 minutes to locate every subsurface cavern on the planet. After that, it'll take an hour for interns to figure it out. Well, let's just say the Animorphs need to hurry. Yeah, so I am so furious with this book. After Tails Cocked, after all this other stuff, we're about to get into some of the most bizarre language I'm ever going to have to say in a recorded document.
What's wrong with Bright Hole?
It's
I mean, I
phosphorescence,
do have
Chris.
to.
I feel utterly trolled by the bright hole.
Bioluminescence.
I feel utterly trolled by the bright hole.
And
I
if you
think
have
that
bioluminescence
she is
in
having
your
a
hole,
laugh.
you should talk to a doctor.
She's taking a piss. She's like, it's like, this is
Chris,
all like.
There are 2 ways to reach the bright hole, and we learned it from the top.
I only know
Or from
8
the
of them.
bottom.
Food goes in, or
Who goes up?
And we also know how long it will take the Yeerks to find the bright hole. So.
That's true. It could take any number of times.
Yeah.
Any number of
yeah.
I do love, the idea that they were like, well, we could try to go in through several feet of rock, but we did the whole moles thing last book.
That didn't work. Yeah.
And it took 2 weeks to dig down.
Yes.
Also, I forget when they're sending them off on this mission, Gaui is saying and the fate of the Lyrans falls on your, what's the equivalent of tails? And Cassie's like, shoulders. And I'm like, tails equals shoulders.
Well,
Got it.
idiomatically. Idiomatically.
In that expression,
In that
but I
expression.
also think just...
Tails or shoulders. Well, we have
Yeah, but now-
much stronger arms than they do.
we're
So the
getting a
base of the
callback
tail.
with Gaui where he's gonna say and may your shoulders be cocked and ready.
Yeah.
What was it? I saw some show where a guy he loaded his punches and they made fun of him.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
What was that? I can't think
All right,
of
what
it.
you got?
Sorry,
What you got?
go ahead,
man?
Eddie.
I just love how grateful the Lyrians are every time they get their heads bit off.
Their head ripped off.
Thank you for ripping our
Oh my god!
faces off.
I know. It was and it was in such a metal moment. It was basically he tried to cry out for his friends, but I bit down until he couldn't talk anymore. It's oh my god.
Yeah, this book is profoundly violent.
Jake also has a sarcasm moment that's not entirely sarcasm, and Axe is that is a human humor thing. It is a thing they do where they state the opposite of the truth, and he's like, I don't know. How do you know I'm not sure? What do you know? And I'm like, yeah, everything I say is a joke. Ha 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 ha. Please don't call a doctor. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. This battle was scary, and they keep ratcheting up the tension. Should we just speed run through these next?
It was
few?
Mission
It's
Impossible,
like an action movie.
Miranda. It was Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible with the
Henry Cavill in Mission Impossible. Oh,
The
he
original.
was. Yeah, he was.
Fallout.
He was like
he was cocking his
Fallout?
fists.
He was a baddie, right? He was like a bad guy or something.
And they cock the fists when they're boxing.
Yeah. Yeah, and then like a whole bunch of people made fun of it.
Yeah.
I don't think in the movie, but on the internet.
Yeah. Chapter 26.
Chapter 26. The Animorphs find the underwater cave and form a plan to morph into bats just as Cassie disappears, leaving only Axe and Jake. They morph to bats, dodging the disorienting echolocation of those hanging snakes as they fly through darkness. Axe is panicked, lost, until suddenly he sees light. Moments later, he is inside the bright hole, surrounded by flowers and colorful plants. But Jake is not there, and he doesn't answer. Axe is all alone.
Alone in the bright hole.
Yeah.
Alone in the bright hole. This is
A memoir.
a great chapter. Jake handles Cassie's disappearance on the fly really well. I mean, they've been told to expect it at this point,
time.
and
No
he
time.
has hope.
Yeah,
So, like,
exactly.
no time. But
Yeah, totally.
I think the fact that Jake is gone by the end of the chapter is so wild and really effectively demonstrates how this is getting faster and faster. Like, it did a really good job of that for me. We had noticed that, like, the time between getting there and Tobias disappearing was much shorter than the time between Tobias disappearing and Rachel disappearing, and then the time between Rachel disappearing and Marco disappearing, yada yada. But it seems to be accelerating very quickly now. Like it seems to be like halving its
These
time.
were quick
almost.
chapters too. Like once we get on this last adventure, it just starts to really speed up. Like in slingshot, if you will.
Is there any
reason
reason behind the order we think that they disappear?
I want to pick that apart. Do you want to pick that apart at the very end?
Sure.
Or like, because we'll have more time
I've
then?
thought about it a little bit, but like not a ton.
Let's share our theories at the end of the like, because Okay, cool.
Axe quotes Rachel, or sort of quotes Rachel. He's like, as if Rachel were here, she'd say, "Let's do it" or something. And Jake makes a cute little joke. If anybody would like to, I can take it, or just he's
take it. No, take it.
No, yeah, it's like he's calling him Prince Jake, and he's like, it's just the two of us now. Cassie disappeared like 6 lines ago. You could stop calling me Prince, and then he's like, or you could just call me the Jake formerly known as Prince. And Axe is like, it's very cute, but Axe doesn't get it. And Jake is like, look, Marco's not here.
Marco would have ate that shit up.
I'm doing my best to provide the comic
I have a character arc. I'm growing. That's what
it did irk me that he said, we can't waste any time. But here, let me take a while to think of a joke, Marco would say.
Well,
like,
I mean,
get that
we
it's
don't
good
know.
for morale.
Yeah.
But like,
they're doing that as they're going. Also, them describing the like mess in their brain as they try to view the landscape with the snake's echolocation firing against
when they're
theirs.
in the cave. Yeah. They're moving through the cave and all the cave snakes are firing off their echolocation. They're like, they can't see anything because it's just overwhelmed with sound. It sounded really
he says writhing lines. Millions of writhing lines is how they saw the snakes. And then like suddenly in all the ultrasonic noise, the pictures in my head became distorted, wild, swerving, swooping lines. Like, and things didn't seem solid anymore. I'm like, it's so disorienting. It's wild. They convey it really well.
I'm glad that you two enjoyed it so much, and I am appreciating it more through your enjoyment.
I noticed it did not show in your description at all. Yeah.
This sort of felt like how I skip. I don't really pay attention during the challenges when I watch Survivor. I was like, yeah, they're flying through a cave. And there's snakes, but
and there's snakes!
It sort of felt like a retread, not just because they're in Batmorph, but of book 10, Marco's book, when they're infiltrating the... Yeah.
It's been 8 books.
I liked the description of like trying to view it though, and like the warring echolocation blasts was interesting to me.
It's also just that it was so quick. I guess it just passed by.
It was very fast.
Yeah.
This chapter's not long, and it goes by very quickly.
Yeah.
But I want to hear about this bright hole.
I want to hear more about the bright hole. Eddie, can you tell us anything about what happens after we get to the bright hole?
Yes. So that would be chapter 27. Axe is all alone inside the brilliantly colored bright hole. Who could say what other bright holes are like? But this one is about 500 feet long and about half that in width. As far as holes go, this one is quite large, Axe notes, but it feels small. It's quiet, a wonder of nature. No rain had ever fallen here. No sun had ever shone. And yet, life abounded in this bright hole. So why does it seem so dead to Axe, so spirit-crushing? Axe
Really ties the whole together.
Axe finds the central arming device and approaches it. Yet before he can reach it, there's an explosion, followed by many Hork-Bajir dropping into the bright hole. They slow their descent with small rockets on their feet and tails. They fire Dracon beams at Axe as they race for the arming device. But Axe is faster. He arms the bomb, tells the Andalites there's no time for him to escape. They'll need to blow the bomb now. And so a countdown begins. The Hork-Bajir panic, trying to find a way to disarm the bomb, but they fail. At the very least, they can kill Axe, and they nearly succeed at doing so when all of a sudden, there's a final pop. Time freezes for a moment, a Dracon beam frozen in place midair. Then Axe is no longer there. There in the bright hole.
Such a good little action chapter.
I
There's
want
so many-
more feet accessories for the Hork-Bajir.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think we got to keep this up.
Yeah.
Like, it's
Yeah.
got
I
to
want
keep
them in
happening.
heels.
You know, once the
Yeah.
war ends and the Yerks win, they're gonna start selling those to the public. That they just can't.
Oh, they're going to have little, that's true. But I want to, and then when the Hork-Bajir are free, I hope that they wear little jingly bangles around their heels and do some sort of folk dance. You know what I mean? That makes
Nice.
like, you know what I
Yes.
mean? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, like
freedom,
some sort of line dance.
the
Yeah,
freedom
yeah.
Hork-Bajir ankle accessory.
Yeah.
Yes, loving that.
Also, one other note, real quick. Axe gives us real measurements in our units. And the kids always give us something to, like, some sort of, like, landmark size. And I think that's actually, I like to think it's a deliberate thing where Axe is like, humans measure things in feet. I will tell them in feet. Whereas the kids are like, colloquially, we usually measure large things in roughly how many
Like
other
school
large
buses.
things.
Miranda, here's my thought about that. Usually Axe does that. Usually Axe writes his books as if it's an act of cultural translation for Andalites. But here he's using Earth measurements.
Our measurements, yeah. So that's just
Yeah.
showing that he's buying into our stuff. He doesn't say human feet.
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't say Earth feet. He just says
That's
feet.
a cool subtle
Good note.
transition.
Yeah.
Especially, especially this book in particular has been really interesting for that quality.
Does that mean that everyone on Earth should be using feet as their measurement because an Andalite came along and they're like, that's the
the
superior.
metric system is
I don't
way
know.
better.
No, yeah, it's just that an Andalite happened to fall in one of the few countries that
Yes,
still uses imperial measurement. Yeah.
What a cool place, this bright hole. I think it's really well
Seems
described.
really
Yeah,
nice.
I actually
Yeah,
would
like a
really
whole
love
little-
to be in one of these.
Yeah.
Like an underground
yeah.
bioluminescent cave. That's where I want to live.
Axe is also full of shit that there was any talk of an escape plan. Like, they were, what, was he going to go back through the snakes? Back through the underwater river?
Yeah.
I think yes, actually. I think they didn't expect to be discovered as they were arming the bomb, so they were hoping that they would have a way to get out. But it was always just a
I'm inclined
hope.
to agree.
It's always just a
inclined to
hope.
agree with Ed. Like, it's like they're popping off. They're like,
Yeah,
we know
just
that they're not long for this
Hope
world.
you rubber
Like,
band back before they
Yeah.
shoot you with a Dracon beam, and then you get to watch it freeze in midair,
It's
firing
so
at
funny
your
how,
eyes.
like, I get that Axe was being dramatic and epic, but literally all he said is like, oops, I turned it on. How do I turn it off? And that would have like killed 10 seconds.
Yeah.
And they would have been like, oh my God, I don't know. And then they would have figured it
we
out.
do get some great, I don't know if it's Yerkish or Hork-Bajirian, but we get, if I could, we get, Hekgefrash Nur. Then we get Filshig Andalite.
Okay.
And I think those, are new things to add to our lexicon. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Yes. No,
Wanted to note that.
that's a good point. I'm gonna chew on that while chew on those words while I read this chapter 28 description.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do that,
Shall we?
Chris.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Chapter 28. Just like that, the Animorphs are mosquitoes again. All of them back in the hospital room, perched atop the arm of Hewlett Aldershot III. Oh, how we've missed him as they suck his blood. The human controllers are still firing at the bushes below, trying to kill Axe, not yet realizing he's morphed into a bug and fled into the room with them. And then suddenly a hand tries to slap at the spot where Axe bit. It wasn't the guns that woke him up. It was being bit by a fucking mosquito.
Yep.
You'll know what I'm talking about in a second. But the hand misses, Axe having dodged out of the way. It's Hewlett's hand, however, but that's impossible, isn't it? Unless Hewlett just woke up from his coma. The controllers panic. They weren't prepared for Hewlett to wake up. They flee from the room. Hewlett is confused, but not because of the controllers or because of the Drake and Fire, or because the Animorphs were somehow in two places at once for most of this book. No, he just wants to know, why are there so many fucking mosquitoes in this hospital?
It's a good question.
That's the problem with modern society.
It's a good question.
Yeah,
it's
it's a good
the same as the plane. It's like, flight attendant, did you know there are a lot of flies on this plane? It's like the same moment. Should we be researching mosquitoes on coma patients? Has it been tested? Would the human instinct to slap a mosquito wake them up? That's all I want to know.
Yes, I think you're onto something, and we need to do a study.
Yeah.
And I would like to be in the control group that doesn't. Well, I don't want to be in that study. 'Cause then I'd like to be in the control group where I get bit by a mosquito and I'm not in a coma.
Because we can put you in a coma.
but other than that,
I was going to say, like, we could thematically, we could do the chapter 29.
yeah, we could just
right
roll into
now.
chapter 29. My other note here works for that just fine. So.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking, like, because, you know, all my stuff is.
One quick question. They've got this Hewlett Aldershot's blood in their tummies, right? Mm-hmm. I know we've gone over this before. When they morph back, they definitely still have his blood in their tummies, right?
Totally.
Yeah, but it's
very
so
small
little.
amount. Yeah.
It's so little.
It's still there, though.
It's still there.
I really didn't understand how they were going to make this plan work.
I talked about it. I was like, was the
yeah.
plan to smash 5 of them and then they morph back like
before
they
die and
but
lose their consciousness?
but
It
long
doesn't
enough
really
for
make
you to
sense.
hold your hand and get enough blood to get the morph? Like,
Yeah, but they managed to keep enough Jake fly parts together for him to morph back.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, you squish them, you get the blood on your finger,
They're
you squish the
confident.
next one, get the blood, squish, 5 times.
Squishing your friend.
They all
They're
start
all
morphing
dead.
back.
And that's how the animals die.
Just the squishes.
No, I guess you're right. It's a good thing we didn't have to test this plan. Is basically
Yeah, I'm glad that they didn't get to the end of this road.
But just remember,
a truck ship
the
disaster.
version of the book where we get that is also where we get Chapman on the run. from the
morphing
Animorphs.
Hewlett Aldershot the third.
Probably.
I still think the vision of him in the minivan is the funniest.
Yeah.
Like, just like mowing down this guy. So fucking funny.
It was actually just a road rage incident. Yeah.
All right, so call your characters now for this last chapter. I'll take everybody says stuff probably, right?
Everybody
Is that
but
true?
Cassie,
We
I
get
think.
Rachel, we get Axe, we get Marco, no Tobias
And we
either.
get Jake.
So we have-
so it's Rachel. So there's 4. So only one person will do 2.
I think whoever takes Rachel should take
Marco.
because I think that's Marco gets
All right, so that's a
Well, it probably
All right.
should take Jake. Jake only gets like one more, but that's fine. So whoever's taking Rachel, take Jake. And then
I'm Miranda.
I can take
Eddie's Marco.
Miranda.
Eddie's Marco.
I said.
Miranda. I can be Rachel and Jake.
Okay.
All right,
Do you want to
cool,
be?
and I'll do Axe.
You want to do Axe? Okay.
Sure. All right, here we go. Chapter 29.
So, wait a minute here, Rachel said. We get zapped back here through zero space, one by one, at different times. But when we get back here, we all arrive at the same moment, and no time has passed.
I nodded my human head. We were all at the mall, at the place where the excellent food places are. I was in human morph, behaving perfectly like a human. Exactly, Rachel. Exactly. We arrived back at the precise moment when we were snatched away. We were all yanked away at the same moment so naturally, we all arrived back at the same moment. Yanked? Oh, yanked is a strange word. Yanked?
Yeah.
Yanked.
Marco said. That's what's strange. The word yanked, us turning into mosquitoes to suck some guy's blood so we could morph into him and instead ending up in the middle of some war to control psychic ill frogs and, oh, by the way, blowing up a small continent full of yerks, saving an entire species, then getting back here to find out Coma Man woke up from a mosquito bite delivered by a morph alien /deer/scorpion/4-eyed centaur. That's all totally normal. normal. That's just an average day. Dear diary, another boring average day till someone said yanked.
I recognized his tone. Sarcasm. It's a form of humor, so I laughed using mouth sounds. Ha! Ha ha! Ha! I considered, then added, ha! Prince Jake, Cassie, Marco, Rachel, and Tobias, in his own human morph, all stared at me.
What was that? Rachel demanded.
I laughed.
Don't do that, Axe, Prince Jake said. It's disturbing somehow.
Yes, Prince Jake.
Don't call me Prince.
All right. I will call you the Jake formerly known as Prince.
Marco made a horrified face. Oh, no. Now he's making jokes. Bad jokes.
Actually, that was my joke, Prince Jake said stiffly. Oh, fine. I get it. You can't laugh at my jokes. Okay, great. I don't even care.
I was an Andalite, all alone, far, far from home, far from my own people, except that sometimes your own people are not just the ones who look like you. Sometimes the people who are your own can be very different from you. Can we eat cinnamon buns now? I asked hopefully. Buns. Very nice.
It's a good chapter.
Yeah,
It's been a while since we've just read the book.
Yeah, we love Marco summarizing the entire book. Love that.
Yeah, that was great.
Also,
that was a good one-sentence summary right there.
Why are they not teaching Axe to laugh? Why are they just telling him not to, be supportive of your friend in his growth. Like, teach Axe to laugh. Don't be haters.
Who do we think has the best laugh of all of the Animorphs?
Marco.
It seems like it
That's
would be
fucking
Marco. I feel like, who is the dark horse, though? I feel like maybe Rachel has a great loud laugh, I feel like.
No,
I feel like if it's anyone, it's probably Cassie. It's like, it's hardest to make Cassie laugh, but when you get it's like a supreme giggle.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Jake, as much as we've grown to love Jake, I feel like his laugh is underwhelming. It's as slow as his
Jake
smile.
is just Jake's a veteran heh. Yeah, just like a single heh.
Yeah. Axe, though, when they finally get Axe to laugh, it's going to be uncontrollable. It's going to be great.
If he learns how to do it for real.
Well, yeah.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with Rachel, though, in this chapter. I lost it when they all came back to this moment. And I was like, okay, so we've not just stretched through Z-space. We've been separated from our other mass. But instead of rejoining at the same moment in time that we are existing, so like 4-dimensionally, right? We're existing in time at a different point in time. And then instead of rejoining at the same moment 4-dimensionally, we're rejoining at the moment we left. Like, I feel like it would make more sense to rejoin however many hours later and suddenly have the memories of what had happened.
Yes.
Relativity makes this whole thing very weird because it's like, if they're really far apart, then like what even is time as
very
those
true.
Things are like, I don't know. The whole thing doesn't make a lot of sense, and Z-space is supposedly timeless anyway.
True.
So it's like, I don't really understand. And they never were devoid of their mass, as it turns out. They were always
anchored.
They were always anchored to the mosquito morph that entire time. And that's what gets me. I brought this up last time we were recording, but that's what pisses me off. They can double morph in this book.
Yeah.
Like, they're morphed from mosquito, then they get back to their human mass. They're missing just a little mosquito amounts of themselves, I guess, or something.
The part that is a
then they morph
mosquito. They're
again.
only technically missing the part that is a mosquito. So I'm like, I guess if the part of you that has the technology to morph isn't the mosquito part, that would make sense.
I don't know. Somebody draw us a space-time diagram that explains this, please.
Yeah.
Because it's hurting my head.
Because now they have to go through the next several hours knowing that they are existing simultaneously somewhere else in the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, except that they could never get to the same place.
No, they're much too far
existing?
away.
Yeah.
So are they really existing? But the decision to have the consciousness be locked instead of existing in two places at once and then rejoining, I think is really interesting.
Mm.
Because usually I think you'd see something where it's like, we diverged and then we came back together and I gained the memories of this. But what would they have done if they had not done this. It completely changes the outcome having done what they just did.
Faster than light travel.
I don't know.
It screws
it's
everything
really
up.
strange.
No. It just screws everything
it does.
up. It's like once you have time travel, they're like nothing makes sense.
That's a really important point, though, because the only time travel we've seen in these books has been the time matrix, but we've just proven that you can time travel using Z-space mass displacement.
Effectively you can, because like if you can skip the relativity part.
So if we could now weaponize this.
Yes, that was my thought. Is I hope that the existence of this book and how they handled it means that at some point later someone is going to have to get to Z space for some purpose. Like I feel like that would have to come.
Yeah. It would be really cool if somebody like used a morph like Hermione used the time saver.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll morph a mosquito in this room and then I'll go through this thing so that I can morph back to this to take the test in 5 minutes.
Or even better almost. So we know that the primary usage of morph technology among Andalites is espionage. So if they could send like an alert and then morph something tiny, shoot their mass out into Z-space, get hit, and an Andalite ship goes out to hit them, they spend a couple hours on the Andalite ship telling them everything they've learned and then zap back to the exact moment. And now there's no way for their transmission or their communication to be intercepted. And they can get new orders on what to do based on that information before they've even gone back.
Happens.
Like,
yeah, it's game breaking. I think we just cracked the code. I think we just figured out how to win this war.
Yeah, I don't think they know enough about it. Like, my instinct is that they could not hit something on purpose. That must be the answer. But like,
they only got to the moon by aiming for the sun.
That's true.
That's how they got there.
They waited until they were lined up, and they shot.
They got very lucky they missed the sun.
I feel like functionally this book is related to the Sario Rip book, Book 11, and that we kind of managed to have this entire timeline, this whole series of events that took place far away from our normal, like, home territory of the Animorphs. But I hope it solves the problem of the Sario Rip, and that the only reason that the Sario Rip, the only moments when the Sario Rip matters is when, and by that I mean Book 11, I guess I should say, is when it's Jake's own character development, because that's where those events live. I just hope that this book and what they did in this faraway place actually ends up mattering, because otherwise it's going to kind of feel like, because everyone
I want to hear about
now.
it.
Yeah,
I want to hear about it for sure, because like we actually don't know the outcome. We assume we blew up the planet and saved everybody, but we actually have no idea what happened.
Yeah.
And we have no way to get in touch with anybody to tell us what happened.
I'm hopeful that they'll keep the continuity of it though, because they already respected us by taking us to Lyra.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I definitely think they will. I just think it's going to be a couple books before we find out.
Yeah, and how would this book, if the Yeerks had won, that would be a problem down the line, because there would be more Lyran controllers potentially, right? Like, that's why
that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Except that I guess they can exist on land. They're just very conspicuous.
Yeah,
they're conspicuous.
And awkward, I guess.
I think
yeah.
there is a chance we hear about this before too long. Like, I don't know why the Andalites aren't throwing any resources at Earth. They can apparently, the visitors can get around the galaxy just fine.
And apparently the higher-ups all know about what's going on Earth, and they're just trusting an heiress.
The process, yeah.
I guess they think Yeerk is losable, but there's apparently, there being so many of us is what's so attractive about our species. So, like, they would have a lot more soldiers if they took Earth. So Andalites must just not be taking humans seriously, and maybe they'll start to now that they've met us.
But aren't we led to believe that the problem is that the Andalites are actually on their way? It's just going to take them a really long time to get here?
Yeah. But, like, why would it take that long with
energy
Z-Space? Like, I don't get it.
Right. Yeah, like, it doesn't... They can get here plenty fast, seems to be true. What the issue more is,
so
is, like, they're busy in other parts of the war.
Yeah.
Well,
So it's going to be 2 years until we can allocate the resources to send your way.
Yes, and Miranda,
then it'll get there very quickly. But, like, we need these things here, so we can't send them to you.
We need to update the closing of our podcast to when the Andalites allocate their resources appropriately to benefit the humans.
When bureaucracy finishes, like...
When bureaucracy gives us the Andalite we deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, they haven't returned yet, though. It's true.
Yeah.
They should really come and
They
visit.
didn't really arrive the first time. They were like, they got shot out in
dome ship.
orbit.
What are you
Yeah, but they got
talking
shot out in orbit. They didn't land. They didn't. Do you think they would have come and talked to us? Do you think there would have been like a first contact situation where they were like, hey, you're being attacked by Yerks and we're here to help? Or do you think they wouldn't have done that due to Ciro's kindness? Like, I know Ciro's kindness prevents them sharing technology, but like, would they have even revealed themselves to us? It's interesting.
I have
to
no
think about.
opinion. I can't really decide because I think like it would have been such a cool book if the Andalites just landed.
Yeah.
You know? But that's a timeline we'll never know.
Because we know they
We'll have
won't.
to wander into
Yeah,
Z-space
like I said, they won't share like technology. But
yeah, like we don't really know a whole lot about the Borg
Hajir
conflict.
But they clearly landed on Lyra and like talked to the Lyrans.
They
But
were
we don't
working
know if
with
the
the
Yerks
Lyrans.
landed first. Like we don't know, and Lyrans don't appear to have space travel. But I guess maybe they do.
Yeah,
like,
that's right. They don't appear to have space travel. It's true.
at least not that we're told about. So
No, there's
some alien race revealed themselves to.
I think there's a strong case that the Andalites would have been like, "Hey, we need to set up base on your stupid little planet."
Yeah.
And then they would have been like, "All right, you're our subject."
Or do you think they would have just gotten human morphs and assumed humans, because there's so many of them, wouldn't notice that there were some new humans?
Well, you know,
With no paperwork.
That's a plot point they could weaponize later.
Our
They could be
paperwork-
like, oh,
Our paperwork
There
could
are-
save us from invasion.
yeah.
It's like, what do you mean you don't have a birth certificate?
But
They're like, I need a permit to build a home because I was stopped by the police officer. And they're like,
Just-
okay, like, where's your
How
ID?
awesome would that double reverse be, though, if they were like, no, there's actually some Andalite bandits. Like, that's an actual thing that's happening. And we just think we're just so vain.
What if they landed on the other side of the world, though?
Right.
And we just haven't
Down
hooked
under.
up?
Down under.
Down under.
It would be
Andalite bandits. Like, that sounded more like Boston than Australia.
That was pretty good. It's pretty good. Andalite bandits.
I kind of hope that someone gets on to accent.
There's nothing wrong with the bidet, is there? Say that
the
again?
fact that he has like no birth certificate. Can you imagine how
Yeah.
politicized that would be? Like,
Oh my
and then
God.
they're
They'd be like,
morphing
his
our
parents are just-
children, like
Yeah, sovereign citizens or hippies.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? Like,
Should we do our book 19? Who's Chris? I think you're.
oh
up.
yeah, whose turn is
Oh,
it?
yeah,
I did it
let's
last
do it.
time. I
I
think.
almost opened it so I could start doing it, and then I remembered that.
No, I got it. I got this one.
Okay. I know it's Cassie morphing a butterfly.
Ooh.
This is technically our start of season. I know we're not doing seasons anymore, but season 4?
It was supposed to be, yeah, like our start of season 4. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I do think means I'm going to do a survivor for. We've definitely got the characters, so.
I'm cool with that.
No living hive, though.
No Living Hive. Living Hive will be back for the All-Stars season.
Whatever.
Oh my God. Can you imagine if we get to a point where we've done enough Animorphs Survivor that we have a Winners at War?
Yeah, and then we'll have to keep track of who's actually won so far. I need to do another one just so I can see Cassie make it
all right,
past the
I
first
got it.
round.
I know.
I tried to get a digital copy and then that took forever, so I was like, I'll just get my copy. Okay. All right. I got it. You ready?
Okay.
You ready?
So it's Cassie morphing into a buttermorph.
Yes.
My buttermorph.
Buttermorph.
I
yeah.
recently learned that hentai, which is it means pervert
Don't
in
lay
Japanese.
a finger on
and
my butterfinger.
we
All
also
right.
know, but it can also mean metamorphosis, as in a caterpillar turning into a butterfly. I learned that
Cool.
recently.
All right. So here are your
What's it
here
called?
Are your 3 to guess from. It's called The Departure.
Okay.
Here are your 3. Change their hearts, change their minds. That's the first one.
Okay.
There's always room for a little change.
Okay.
Buddy, can you spare a quarter?
Okay.
Thought for sure you were gonna go with change. Turn and face the strange. I'm gonna go with change their hearts, change their minds.
I am too.
Really? Okay. Locked in. It is actually...
There's always room for a little change. Oh!
Yeah. No idea what that's about.
It was 50-50. Eddie, you should have gone for the other one.
I know.
One of us was guaranteed to win.
Buddy, can you spare a quarter?
I know, we always do that, but I couldn't because you also paused after.
I just don't... Buddy, like, that one's the most believable one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you know, because it's called The Departure.
Yeah.
It needs a quarter.
Do you have any bus fare?
Thanks for listening to Anidorks. We'll be back soon with lots more to say. Until the Andalites return, or at least until next time. See you soon!